Hi gang, Rob here. It is the morning of 8 September 2015 and I've got a quick little overview video for you this morning on a knife from Kershaw. This is the number 1678 Camber, one of the newer products from Kershaw's American-made Kershaw line. Golf course clap. Not a Chinese knife. An American-made Kershaw with American steel, CPM S30V, the 6061 aluminum handle that we've come to expect from some of the American-made Kershaws. They do such a nice job with. The blade in this graceful drop point with a gorgeous topside swedge is flat ground from about 2/3 of its breadth down. Gorgeous stone-washed finish. No jimping, but for a 3-inch EDC blade, and that's the blade length, is 3 inches from 1/8 inch stock. I don't think it really needs jimping, especially with the presence of the finger guard provided by the flipper. It is a speed-safe, spring-assisted flipper knife. You know, it really, if I had to characterize it, I would say that it's a shrunken, slightly Kershaw knockout with the mechanics of a blur. And what I mean by that is it has almost the same blade shape and handle shape as the knockout. But instead of having that large steel subframe lock or the knocked out lock, it has a standard screw-in stainless steel liner lock like a blur has. It has a steel upgrade over the 1/4 inch longer knockout. This is a 3-inch blade, the knockout 3 1/4. S30V on this camber versus Sandvik 14C28N on the knockout. Price difference. I just did a quick online search today for the camber. They can be bought, the cheapest prices on Amazon at a tick under $70. There's probably going to be some shipping there unless you're an Amazon Prime member. All the way up to $89.95 at Knife Center. And then same day search for the knockout, which is a 1/4 inch longer but a slightly reduced quality steel, about $60 to $75. So the knockout a little less expensive than this camber, but the camber with a definite advantage in steel. You know, if we talk about the lock, I think I'd probably be happier with that steel subframe knockout lock than I am with this standard leaf liner lock. You guys are probably well aware Kershaw blurs have had some issues with accidental release of the lock under certain grips and torquing type motions, and the camber is susceptible to the same thing. If you notice that the liner leaf is exposed in that finger groove, so any kind of in a left-handed grip, any kind of a torque in this direction releases that lock all too easily. I don't know if right-handed it's going to be as much of an issue. Yeah. It is. But, you know, if you just keep that in mind, using this for daily tasks like opening mail and breaking down boxes, probably not going to be a problem. I'm not sure that I love it. This is a customer's knife and came to me for sharpening. And, let's finish talking about the knife. Overall, great ergonomics, by the way, and you would expect that, given its family heritage. The saber grip is very good. The TheApostleP samurai grip, very good. Overhand grip, nice and comfortable. Draw cut grip, nice and comfortable. The flipper / finger guard doesn't really create a hot spot of any kind. Reverse grip, very good. Knife's a little short for tactical use, but if you were in an emergency and you needed to employ it in that grip, you could. Here's another difference between the camber and the knockout. Some people knocked the knockout, pun intended, for its lack of grip. So Kershaw has employed the TrackTech inserts on the camber, 2 on the show side, so your index finger and your 2 rear fingers can pick that up in the right-handed grip. On the back side, or the show side for the lefty, just 1 insert up at the pivot. Works well. Here's sort of my beef with that. If you notice, the knife is tip up, left or right hand positionable. And on this, the way the clip is mounted for right hand use, there's no track tech under the clip. So it makes for decent retention, but ease of insertion and extraction. If you move the clip over to the left side, the low point of the clip hits right at the edge of that track tech. It makes the knife difficult to insert and extract in the pocket. You know, I don't know why they didn't just leave that back section off or make it shorter so that clip, if mounted for lefty use, could just touch aluminum only, give some clearance over the track tech for the pants. One of those little details that Kershaw / ZT just tends to keep getting wrong. They just do. They make an overall beautiful knife, great package, well machined, well fitted, and there are just little nagging things about the knife that suck, and that would be one of them in this case. Let's talk about the grinds. We do have the big sweeping plunge grind that did not clear the ricasso out of the box. I had to remove probably 90 thousandths of material from the heel of the edge in order to sharpen it in a proper way. It looks nice that way though. Didn't hurt the aesthetics of the knife whatsoever to do that. Not the thinnest Kershaw behind the edge that I've ever seen. This is at secondary bevel at 16 degrees per side, and you can see it's not super skinny, but you know, not chunky either. It's not like a hinderer. Speed safe works well as you would expect, and it gives you enough slack to move the blade to almost 90 degrees to close with your thumb without springing back on you. And if you try to do it all in one motion, how does it work? A little tougher. Not really. Blade centering is pretty good. Not perfect. It does favor the offside just a hair. That's adjusted just about as well as I can adjust it without putting the pivot in a bind. I will say this about the main grind: it's a little wavy coming out of the plunge. If you notice, on both sides there's an ever so slight flare in my secondary bevel, followed by sort of a low spot. And then it gets fat right about here, just where the grinding wheel plunged in and went a little below the surface of the rest of the grind. So it's a little thin right through here, which, you know, not a bad thing. It's just aesthetically an issue trying to get that edge to look the same all the way down. Let me wipe real quick here. Kershaw does seem to run their S30V a little hard. Harder than we're used to from, let's say, Benchmade. I think a little harder than Chris Reeves' S35. It takes a very sweet edge. Almost silence going through there. Oops. There you. I caught my ricasso. Did you see that? Did it again. But nice cutting edge. I think this is sort of a credible player. Maybe a little bit pricey for what you get. I'm not sure I wouldn't prefer a knockout for $15 less or so with a longer blade. In a steel I don't hate. But for a little variety, the camber is not a bad choice. I'm a little concerned about that lock issue though. You'd think they would have learned after so many guys stopped buying blurs because of that. I think that exposed frame lock on the knockout, because your index finger is always going to be pinching it toward the engagement direction of the lock, whereas in a liner lock the frame keeps you from doing that. It's only exposed to go in the unlocked direction, if that's making any sense. I think it makes more sense to watch it than it does to hear about it. Yeah, that's not really an unlocking motion I'm making there, guys. That's a motion you might make actually using the knife. I had the same knock against the Brust Bionic, if you'll remember. They should probably just shore up this frame to not expose so much of that locking leaf. But again, it's a light duty EDC knife. Great little utility blade for everyday use, I think. Thought you'd like to see it before it heads back to New York State to its owner, Ron. So there it is, the Kershaw Camber from the sharpening bench. Grace to you, my friends, and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word is sharp.